Hi everybody, it's Diane from Sister Earth Creations. We're starting just a couple minutes early, but we'll commence with the readings at 8:30. We do have a full roster of 5 people tonight, and I'm just going to take these few extra minutes to answer a couple questions. I had somebody ask me about spirit animals, and I do that, but I don't offer it in a free reading. You'd have to make an appointment for that because it's fairly involved the way I do it. Also, we're starting to gather enough of a crowd of people who don't know me and never have seen my readings before, so I just wanted to give a framework of how it works. You sign up asking for a reading by messaging me on my page, Sister Earth Creations, Psychic Intuitive, and then I use my oracle that I made to do a reading for you, and that reading is a snapshot of your life. So I don't take reading questions in the live stream. In fact, I can't see the comments, and I don't read them either because of the way my setup is. I can't see it. So if you want a reading, you sign up, and then I would do a reading that is a snapshot of your life, and we look at different parts of your life. But we also do a blessing on all of our reading videos that you would choose a number. If you didn't sign up, you would choose a number between 1 and 5, and we would all join in a sort of like a prayer or a spell or meditation or whatever that anyone who joins and picks a number and listens to that number of reading, it will be in harmony with them, and they will get a special message even if they didn't sign up. But if you want my special attention, then you need to sign up for a reading. And I don't mention names on the air. I only mention the first initial of your name for privacy. So that's how it works. So if you ask me a question midstream, it won't be answered. However, if I'm doing a reading and you've chosen that number, or you did sign up, and you just have like a further question, like tell me more about that thing that you saw in my spiritual life, could you ask another question? After the live is over, I can draw another card for you, and I can answer you in a private message. So that's the way that it works. I've had a couple people ask me, do spirits come forward and talk to me? Not usually. It's not unheard of. It has happened before. But I'm not a spirit medium. I'm an oracle reader. And so mostly the oracle talks to me. Occasionally I will feel something. I'll get a sense of it. But I don't just like call spirits forward to talk. I don't work that way. I know lots of other readers do, but that's not how I work. So that's how that works. So if everyone would join me, we're coming up close to 8:30 here. If everyone would join me, and I don't see anyone on yet, so I'll probably repeat this a couple times. If you are watching, please join me in a prayer or a meditation or a setting of intent that everyone who sees these readings will get the highest benefit from them, and that the people who choose a number during or after this has been recorded can choose a number for that reading, and they will listen to that reading, and they will hear something that they really need to hear. Also, if you messaged me for a reading and you asked a specific question, a lot of times my readings are going to tell you what you need to hear about and not what you're asking about. But we can always look deeper and draw another card after the reading if we just don't see your answer in there. But I like to do the whole reading first before we answer a specific question, because a lot of times it gets answered as we're going around the circle. I use what's called a compass rose reading. A compass rose reading is a card on each point of the compass, and each point of the compass, it represents a particular part of your life. So the north of the compass represents your spiritual life. The east represents your ego mind and your logical thought and your academic abilities. In the south, we see the physical body and the material world and material possessions. And then in the west, we see your emotional life and your emotional person. So that's how that works. We still have 1 more minute left, so I want to take an opportunity to thank the volunteers that signed up today. I have a course going, and it's in beta test right now, and so I needed some volunteers because I happen to attract a lot of students who are totally shy and did not want to be on audio or video. and have other people see them or hear them. So I'm looking for volunteers who will let me do some healing modalities with them, and we would just record our interactions together. So I did have 2 people sign up today, so thank you very much for signing up, and we will visit about exactly how that's going to work and what healing modality we will try out with you, and set an example of how it looks when you're seeing it done with a practitioner. So we have 1 more minute. We are going to start with reading number 1 here in a minute, and client number 1, your name starts with a B, and you did sign up last week, but last week I was having allergies, and so I didn't do readings because Benadryl and readings just don't go very well together, and so I decided that we would just have to wait. So it's now 8:30. So if you're just joining me and you have signed up for a reading, please join us in the prayer that everyone who chooses a number will also get a benefit from that reading, and that people will be able to watch it even after it's recorded and get a benefit from it. So if you did not sign up with me personally to have a reading, then you may choose a number between 1 and 5, and that reading will apply to you, and you will just listen to that reading for a special message as though it's meant for you, because it is. We said it's going to be that way in our prayer, and so it will be. And so I'm going to start here in just a minute to do reading number 1. I don't really see anybody, but I just was so busy this week that I didn't have time to really advertise this in the way that I normally do. So if you get a reading from me and you're particularly moved, I would really appreciate writing a review for my Facebook page or my Google page, and that's always very appreciated. Don't forget to like my page so that you can see what's going on. Sometimes I do art, sometimes I do cooking, sometimes I do healing. Today we're doing readings. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading number 1. And client number 1, your name starts with a B. And so I'm going to shuffle the cards up here. Actually, we stir them, but we'll get them mixed up really good, and we're going to get started with your reading. So the first card that we draw is going to be a card that is like the general theme for right now, or the general theme for your life. Like, for example, an artist might get the passionate artist card in there if it's the theme for their life, or it may be something that you're currently dealing with and should be aware of. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay them out, and we will just explain them as we go. This is reading number 1 for client number 1, and your name starts with a B. So the theme for right now is poor communication. So that needs to be addressed. People not understanding each other, you not communicating well with your intent, maybe being a little bit sort of reactive when like feeling defensive, and maybe take a breath before you speak if you feel that way, and just like decide, do you really need to be defensive? I sort of feel like it's not just you though. It's kind of like there's been a kerfuffle. I don't know who would say that, but I hear that word in my head. And so like everybody has decided how this communication went, and like nobody really understands what the other person meant. So returning to visit poor communication and see if you can straighten it out as a theme for you right now. In your spiritual life is the self. And this is always the path of working on oneself, the path of putting your spiritual business, sort of putting it right so you can see which path is right for you, working on yourself, making time for yourself, getting to know yourself. And I feel like there's a little bit of shadow work that you need to do too. Like there's something that actually brings you joy, and it's been repressed. And you either feel guilty because it brings you joy, or you don't even realize that's why you keep getting drawn back into this. And when you can find and embrace the fact that there's a thing you enjoy that you either shouldn't enjoy, or it doesn't make any sense and like it's a weird thing. When you make it okay that, yeah, I'm kind of like that, it's a little weird, but I'm like that, and that's okay, and I'm just going to sort of celebrate the fact that even though most people don't enjoy this thing, I kind of get a kick out of it. It sort of releases some energy that's pent up there. It's sort of trapped in your subconscious. So that's what I feel in your spiritual life, and this is the card of the self. It's always a positive card. It's always a powerful card. It's very much encouraging you to continue moving forward on your spiritual path, because things are going to start happening. Things are going to start changing because you're changing yourself, and that's going to change the world around you. Over here in the ego mind, or we call it the logical mind, the academic faculties, is the card of cycles. So things are going to go, and then they're going to stop, and then they're going to go, and it's going to be like the tide on the ocean. So there's going to be cycles of action and inaction happening in your logical mind, and that's okay. Nobody needs to go all the time. So if you are touch and go with projects that are academic, worth feeling like you need to study, or with work that involves academics, know that there's a cycle to it. And sometimes when you try to fight that cycle, it just really makes you exhausted. So if you're really feeling like full of energy to do some kind of projects, or sort of figure something out that requires that active logical mind, go ahead and work on it. And if you're feeling sort of like, oh, I just don't want to do it, and I'm tired, and the thought of it makes me exhausted, well, if it's at all appropriate, take a break from it, and kind of contemplate it without pushing yourself, so that you're not fighting the natural flow of how it works. So, and this card is right side up, so it's not saying that you're, maybe I feel like you might have been waiting in the past, but now things are moving. In your physical realm, so this is your body, but also material things, property, and money. Oh, hello, I see people there, but I can't read what it says. The card of balance in the material world. So the card of balance is upside down right now for you in the material world. So there's some changes going on. Something is out of balance. It's either going to have to do with your health, or your finances, or your property. That needs to be corrected. So some attention there. How did it get that way? What choices led to that? And how can you bring it back into balance? And we'll draw another card that tells us how to fix this. I do see some people signing on. I always love it if you hit the like button. We are on reading number 1. And client number 1, your name starts with a B. And if you're just tuning in, that's fine. You can watch the beginning recording. We are on emotional things. Oh, so this is where the source we talked about in the middle was this theme of poor communication. And now I see in your emotional self the card of misunderstandings, and sort of lack of guidance. Like you wouldn't, how would you know that it wasn't that? Like there's no reason for you to know within your experience. So there's a misunderstanding, mostly based in emotional reactions to some kind of communication going on. You're not really guilty of anything. It's just like you have no experience to base like this on, and so of course you thought that. But take a breath, sort of ask yourself some questions about the thing that you really believe about that conversation or that communication. Is it really true? When you look at the evidence in your life, look for evidence to the contrary of it being true. And if you find a lot of evidence to the contrary, then probably whatever your emotional assumption was, it needs to be revisited because it's not entirely true. So that needs to be corrected. I'm going to draw, hi people, I'm going to draw some cards for these. So there's 3 cards upside down here, so those are all like indicating some difficulties. So the first one is that theme of poor communication. I'm going to draw a card that says, well, what's this about and what helps with it? Probably having to do with a new project or a child or a new relationship. So it's a thing that's new and it's just kind of starting out. It's also related mostly to planning and to a 1-year process that isn't turning out to be like the normal growth cycle or the normal cycle that you thought it would be for that thing to happen. So remembering that the project is going to go slow, or whatever this new thing is, it maybe just needs to grow a little bit more before it's ready to be what you want it to be. It's not going to be a thing that you can rush or that you can push. Like right now, all you can do is continue on your path and try to correct these communication issues. I feel like I feel like there's like something that you're blocking. Like you want this thing, however, there's part of you that doesn't want this thing, and that conflict is sort of at the core of this communication issue thing that we're having. So that's what that is about. In a second, I'm going to draw something about the balance that's in the material world and the physical world. But I see you have new folks here. This is reading number 1. I do the readings, I lay them out. If you did not sign up, you can pick a number. So I would start with 2, so between 2 and 5. And then you listen specially for that reading to have something, a special message for you. And we're all going to give a prayer or meditation that will be so, that everyone who picks a number will get something beneficial from the reading that they're listening to. I do not answer questions on the fly. 1, because I don't work that way, and 2, because I can't really see them anyway. I can see things moving, but I can't see what you're writing. So I'm going to look at that after the readings. However, if you did sign up for a reading or you picked a number, you have an extra question about the layout that I did, like you talked about this thing that was a new project, please tell me some more, can I have one more card? You can message me, and after the readings I can private message you with more information. Okay, so we're down here in the south, which represents money and the body and material possessions, and what we're seeing is a card that says we're out of balance there. And so I'm going to draw another card. What's it about? And what should you do about it, or what helps with it? So it's going to be having to do with feelings of security. I want to say this has to do with shelter. I really feel strongly like this has to do with where you live or who you live with, or possessions that are there. First of all, I feel like I can hear someone saying, I just have too much crap. So sorting out process will happen. This may affect more than just your belongings. You may find some relationship stuff that you're also going to leave behind. But so what happens is there needs to be making a list of pros and cons to keeping whatever it is and getting rid of whatever it is, having specifically to do with shelter and your ability to have stability materially, and I feel like with shelter. So could be housing, could be moving, could be roommates, but it's going to be something within that theme. Please do hit the like and love button. Over here, we're in the west, which is the emotional center, and I saw that there was some kind of misunderstanding based on the situation of wanting this thing to happen, and it's not happening when you want it to happen, and it's taken forever for it to do like you want it to be there, but it's still new and it's not functioning the way you want it to. And there's an emotional burden here having to do with that, which is causing this misunderstanding. It's either you don't understand what you want, or someone else doesn't understand. Like there's a misunderstanding going on, and it's directly affecting your emotional well-being. So we're going to ask, what is that about, and what helps? Okay, first of all, you're not getting enough rest. Your emotional center needs you to have rest. You need to have the REM sleep, because your deep subconscious requires that in order for you to figure things out on that level. So you're not spending enough time getting rest. It's particularly not listening to your dreams. So get enough rest. When you first wake up, try to remember your dreams, write them down, or at least go through the story that you remember from your dreams in your head once before you get out of bed so you don't forget it. It's going to help you work out this emotional thing. And even though you might be thinking that the problem is going to be fixed from outside of you, there is a really important piece within you emotionally that needs to be corrected before the situation can move forward. You're looking for this emotional need to be met outside of you. And I hear this, okay. It's like this old lady, and she's saying, and I just said that I don't channel spirits, and I don't know if this is a spirit or if this is just the way I do it, and it's my own subconscious connecting with you. But I hear this older woman, and she's saying, you can't have peace in your life if you're at war with yourself. So I'm not sure what that means to you, but contemplate it and see if it doesn't lead you along with getting more rest and knowing that there's a misunderstanding in your life that needs to be corrected. See if that doesn't help you. 3 things that help you move forward in life. trusting your path. I see all the little hearts flying. I love it when that happens. So your spiritual path is doing really well, trusting the mysteries. Some stuff is going to be revealed to you spiritually, and hopefully it's going to help heal this emotional thing. Take good care of your health. I see that you've been working on that. You've been working on getting healthier. Keep going in that direction. Particularly with physical health, it does help your emotional well-being to support your physical health. And then be very careful if you catch yourself having avoidance behaviors. Avoidance behaviors can be anything that's causing you to avoid dealing with your crap. So, workaholics, alcoholics, drugs, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be avoidance behaviors. It could be making up excuses in your life that you know are lies just so that you don't have to deal with it. But try to avoid that, because it's a pitfall in your life that will cause you lots of suffering. So there's a huge potential for you to just leave any addictive behaviors that you have behind. But you have to do something. You have to do not that I'm saying like it's a 12-step program, but just you have to do the work in order for the things that are bothering you to be corrected. And a lot of this is coming from inside of you, and which is good news actually, because that's the only thing in the whole world that we can control is ourselves and our own mind. So question the thoughts that are going on related to your emotional self, and really look for proof that they're not true. And if you find a lot of evidence that, well, so and so doesn't love me, but they did this, and this as an expression to love to me, then really question, like, why do you really feel that way if you have all this evidence that it's not true? So that's the end of reading number 1. And I'm going to grab a little sip of water and put the cards together, and then we will do reading number 2. If you're just tuning in, we have readings 2 through 5 left, and the way that I read is using the oracle that I made. And we take a picture of your life. You will have signed up with me in advance, or you will be choosing a number, and we do it that way so that we can help more people get a reading that way, because I could never accept all the people who want to sign up, so I just can take 5 because that's what we have time for. So we're going to start reading number 2. I would like everyone who's there to join me in a prayer that everybody who picks a number is still going to get a great reading, and they're going to get the highest benefit even if they didn't sign up. And it's going to be that way even if they watch the recording, because we said it's going to be that way, and we all put our energy and intent into it, so it will be that way. Please, if you get a reading from me and you feel particularly moved, I would love to have a review written either on my Facebook or on my Google page. And I'm just going to repeat what I said before, because I see new people here. I read my cards in a certain layout. Sometimes I hear things. I don't question if it's spirits or whatever, but I'm not a spirit medium channeler, so I'm not going to be able to call your grandma and talk to her or anything like that. I do offer some spirit animal stuff as a non-traditional shamanist, but that is not something I offer on my free videos in lives. That would be an appointment. If you have a question about one of the readings, like say you picked number 4 and you have a question that wasn't answered about that, you can message me and I can draw one more card for you and private message you back. But I don't really answer questions on the fly, one of the reasons being just because I can't really see the screen. I can see things up there, but I can't see them. And it kind of, my cards are going to tell you what you need to know, what you're supposed to know, and sometimes the question you think you have, it has nothing to do with the stuff that you're supposed to be thinking about right now. So it just works that way. I know other readers don't work that way, but that's how I work. All right, so we're going to start reading number 2, and reading number 2, your name starts with a J. And so the first card is going to be the theme. Then we have spiritual, logical, physical, and emotional. Okay, so the theme is either going to have to do with men or father figures, but it could also have to do with abundance and spending time outdoors. Trying to feel if I get a particular lean in one direction or the other. I feel like it has to do with a male, but it's the whole concept of this card. This is the Father Sky. And the Father Sky is the partner to the Mother Earth card. So it's all about nature and feeding your soul through nature and being grateful that nature takes care of us and that we have this abundance of harvest on the planet and it takes care of us the way a father figure would. But like I said, I do feel like there is also a male person in your life that is part of your theme right now. So we're going to go up to the spiritual world, and the spiritual world is the card of cycles, which we had in the first reading too. The card of cycles is very much about don't fight the flow of it. So spiritually, if you feel like you need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because you need to pray about something, then do it. And you can take a nap later. So if you feel like you need to get up and because you have this inspiration and it's this thing that you're really inspired to do it, get up and take some notes about it. You know, if you're inspired to paint something at a weird time when you're supposed to be resting according to the rest of the world, do it anyway. You can rest later. And if you're feeling like you just want to rest when everyone else says you should be busy, well, if it's all possible, find a way to do that, because there's a certain flow to your spiritual life, and it's going to have an ebb and flow. Might even be, I feel like for you it's synced right into the moon cycles and the tides. So be sensitive to those, because it's an opportunity for you to change perspective. So go, 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 go is one perspective, but stop and rest and contemplate is another perspective. And so having your spiritual life so closely connected to that helps you see things from more than one place. So we're going to move over here to what happens in the logical mind. And this is reading number 2 if you just tuned in. In the logical mind, I see strength. So this is the card of strength. It's always a positive card. It has to do with grace. It has to do with understanding like how really strong your faculties are there. Playing to your strengths and not hiding them. And whatever your endeavors that you are thinking about with your academic mind, like paperwork and math, but also with your ego, like working stuff out in a logical fashion, have some faith in yourself in that area, because you've got this. So that's what's there in that mind. And I feel like there's something else, but I don't quite feel it, so I think it'll come through in the rest of the reading. In your physical world, we are seeing, and I mixed these cards really good, the Jester inverted, which was in the last reading. So the Jester inverted is always a warning about addiction, but it doesn't have to be substance abuse. That is just one channel of the many things that we do to avoid dealing with our stuff when we are not sure what to do about it. So there's avoidance behaviors, and there's workaholic kind of stuff, and there's, so whatever is going on there, if you're avoiding dealing with something painful, be careful, because manifesting in your physical world is not a good place to have this manifesting. Issues around addiction, I feel like it's time for someone. So I don't know if it's you. Can't really feel that. But somebody is supposed to be asking for help, and they're not. Like they know they have this tendency, and maybe they're a little ashamed of it, or maybe they're just like don't want to look there, but they have a tendency to not deal with something and find a way to avoid it, and it's going to affect their physical body or their material world in some other way. So this is a warning, like to not be messing around with that. But to be trying to face your life head on. And if you don't know how to do that, like if it's too confusing or too scary or too painful, then now is the time that you should be asking for help with this, because help is there. I can feel that help is there, but you have to be willing to ask for it and to take them up on that offer. Over here in the emotional self, I'm going to draw another card there. In the emotional self, there's sort of like this, I feel like it's a part of you that you just, like a past trauma or something. And every now and then, I see a person who's like a grown-up, but they suddenly start acting like a child. And like that's embarrassing, and people don't understand why. The reason why, there was a trauma, and when we don't have that trauma resolved as a child, what happens is we start to act it out as an adult, and we don't even know we're doing it. So like if a trauma happens to you when you're 5, and then at a certain point something triggers you, you start acting like you're 5, the reason for that is it's that part of you trying to come out so it can be healed. So there'll be some sorting out for you emotionally with this. You've got this, though. I feel like this is something that's been coming for a while, and it's just it just needed to have, like, all those pieces needed to come together. So emotionally, there's going to be some realizations coming to you very soon. And it's good news, because it's you're sort of finished with one cycle of sorting this stuff out, and you'll have some more clarity when you're finished. I can see that someone typed something, but I can't see what it says. But if you just tuned in, I am still on reading number 2. I'm getting ready to finish it up here. So if you're going to choose a number, you would want to choose one between 3 and 5. I love it if you hit the like button. I also love it if you enjoyed your reading, if you wrote a review about it. That would be great on my Facebook page or my Google page. So we're gonna, down here in the physical world, we had this thing that had to do with some sort of addictive or avoidance behavior, like a warning about that. I'm gonna draw a card and say, well, what's that really about, and what helps with it? So that's gonna have something to do with plans that someone had, and it's like their plans are not grounded in reality. Like they sort of think they can do a thing that they can't really do at this point. And I said, why is that? And I drew the balance card. So something is out of balance. It needs to be put back into balance. When it's put back into balance, that should straighten out this situation to the point where you feel like maybe it's not time to avoid things. And I don't know if this is you or if this is someone very close to you. I just know you're very involved in this. So I'm going to draw another couple of cards, just general cards, that 3 things that help you move forward with your life in an easier and more smooth way. The first one is the card of the wise man. So this would either be a wise individual, doesn't have to be a man, but they have a sort of a manly energy. This is a wise person who is there to sort of assist you and help you, but what they do is they guide you to finding the answers inside of yourself. Instead of telling you what to do, they give you support and they help you to figure things out. So, excuse me, accepting help from a wise person at this point who has training or experience will assist you greatly. And you're going to find answers within yourself because of this. The next card is the card of karma. Very much about choices. Very much about, and these are 3 things that help your life go smoother. So thinking about the choices that you made in the past that led you to the place you are now, and especially true if you're not enjoying the place that you are right now. So knowing the cause and the effect so that you can live on the side of choosing a cause rather on the side of regretting a choice because you don't like the effect. So very much a learning thing. Karma is not a bad card in my deck. It's not reversible. It always looks the same. It gives you power, the power of choice and the power to understand your choices. So it's a good card to have there. And the next card is stability. Seeking stability, making it okay for you to say, I don't want this roller coaster ride anymore. I need to be stable. I need to be sheltered and protected and have some security. And that is okay for me to want that. And to sort of maybe seek some of that. If you feel yourself starting to go down on a roller coaster ride, maybe starting to say no to a few things to preserve some stability in your life would really help you. Because you drew this card of the Father-Son for the theme, this is very much a nature card. I feel like that's a really big message that nature brings you messages. And it's letting you know to be paying attention to those because you could have some really big spiritual messages coming to you through animals or plants. So if you're a meditating type person and you come across something in nature that's super cool and you feel really excited and drawn to it, meditate on that. I apologize for scratching my nose. I'm just still a little bit hay fevery. All right, I'm going to mix the cards up, and I'm going to mix them really well. And we're going to start reading number 3. And client number 3, your name starts with an A. And this reading is also for anyone who didn't sign up but still wants a reading and decided to choose the number 3. And we're all going to have the intent or the prayer or the meditation that everybody who signs up by choosing a number instead of, like, because you didn't message me and ask to be on my roster, will still get a nice reading, a helpful reading to the highest good for them. And even if you're watching the recording, that this will still serve the highest good of everyone present. So if everyone would please join me in that intent that this is going to serve everyone. And so it will, because we decided that it will. Okay. Hopefully I'm not going to start sneezing. Okay, cutting the deck. And I'm just going to start in the middle like I always do with the theme. And I'm going to lay out all the cards and then we'll talk about them. Okay, so a lot of nature people in today's readings. So the theme for you, and this is reading number 3, and your client number 3, your name starts with an A. The theme for you right now is what to do with all this potential. So there's probably some choices to be made in your life right now, and that is okay. There's this potential for you to really turn those choices into something that you're really happy with, but you have to take action. You can't just let that potential sit there and wait for it to turn into something by itself. You need to do something in order to make this potential grow and in order to kind of steer where this potential goes to. So that's going to be a theme for you, is deciding, making choices about potential and what you want to do with that energy or that money or that talent. In the north is where we read about your spiritual life. And in your spiritual life is the card of the Father Sun, like it was in the last reading, even though I cut the deck extra and stirred it up extra. So lots of nature stuff going on right now for people. So in your spiritual life, the Father Sky is an important card for you right now. This card has to do with the partner to the Mother Earth, the Father Sky, male fathering energy, related to Odin and some of those other patriarch gods, but in a kind and fathering way. Having also to do with the bounties of nature providing everything for you. So a great card, powerful God card to have in your spiritual life. So continue forward on your path in whatever way you see that that is connected to your life. Over here in what occupies the ego mind or the logical mind, academics, math, paperwork, jobs that involve a lot of logical work, something is coming to you, something hopeful that you were not expecting, but it's going to be a nice surprise and you're going to enjoy it. And it's gonna, I feel like it's just going to click for you is what I feel. Down here in the south, we have the position that represents the body, material things, possessions, and money. So the material world. In the material world, you will be looking at getting something that you really want, chasing a passion that you really want, something you're probably good at or super interested in. And it's not saying that this is a bad thing, but what it's saying is, so it's the Sky Dancer inverted. The Sky Dancer inverted is always a reminder that sometimes when we're chasing our passion, we make a sacrifice and we don't realize that we've made it until it's too late. So in chasing whatever passion is offered to you in your material world, be sure that you are keeping track of what you're sacrificing, what you're leaving behind, because if you don't, you may find that you have some pretty heavy regrets afterwards, because it will be something that you'll be sad that you don't have it anymore. So, but it also indicates opportunity may be coming to you, and maybe even some travel, but it's going to be something that you're passionate about, perhaps even a creative thing, music or dance or art or writing or something creative like that. I feel like maybe athletics even. So just be sure that you know what you're giving up if you take opportunity. in your emotional self, you are in the healing lodge. So you know that you have this wound, and this wound is something you've been working on for a while. It's something that, you know that this was an issue for you. It's emotionally painful, but you've been sorting it out. You've been working on it. You've been getting past it. You've been figuring out what you need to learn from it, and how you can now support others going through something like that. And so keep on that path, because you're really doing well. It's not inverted. It's the healing lodge right side up, and so you're doing good there. Even though you may not think that you've made much progress, you've probably made more progress than you realize. We are on reading number 3. Client number 3. Your name begins with an A. I know we have some new people who don't know how we do it, so I'm going to explain it real quickly here. I do readings with my oracle in a specific layout. It takes a snapshot of a person's life. When I see a problem, we draw another card to ask about that. In order to get a one that's really dedicated to you particularly, you have to message me ahead of time to sign up. I don't answer questions on the fly, because that just doesn't work very well, particularly with this setup. However, you can still pick a number between 4 and 5 and have a reading if you choose one of those numbers, and we're all going to join in a prayer that says that anyone who chooses a number will get a benefit from whatever reading number they choose. So we're just getting ready to conclude reading number 3. So we saw that there was this, you will have an opportunity, you might make a sacrifice to do something you really want and be sorry about that. So we're going to draw another card, tell us a little bit more about that. Something you've been waiting for a while, more than a year. It's going to have to do with a fair amount of risk is involved, but I feel like you have either the talent or the training or the knowledge to do this thing anyway. You just need to be aware of what it is that you will be sacrificing in order to do this thing. The schedule is not going to be like you previously thought it was going to be, but it's going to still happen. It's just going to take a different time. Make sure that any protections that are suggested for this endeavor are followed. So, and wear your seatbelt and all that other kind of stuff that protects the physical body, since we're talking about the physical world. And that should resolve it in a way that is beneficial to you and makes you feel sort of like you have arrived, is the words that I hear in my head. All right, so 3 things that help you move forward with your life more easily. The first one is clear communication. I feel like you're fairly good at that already, but you just need to be monitoring that, making sure that communication is clear, returning phone calls promptly, returning emails promptly, making sure that if you feel like you're not sure you understood someone, double check with them, and if you're not sure they understood you, vice versa, check with them, make sure that everything is clear. The mysteries are opening, so there's going to be some questions you've been carrying for a while, and you're going to be finding the answers to them very soon in ways that you're not expecting. And then the third thing is the card of partnership. So the card of partnership is about equal give and take. It's about people who support each other. So very much looking at relationships, really appreciating those friends and family members and people in your life that really support you, and that you don't have to be perfect with them. You can have a weakness and they're going to support you through that, and then if they have a weakness, you'll support them through that, and it makes for this very intimate, almost a spiritual type connection that you have. So be looking for those kind of people in your life, and if you have friends that are harming you because they're not supporting you in these ways, it may be time to set the boundary of how intimate they get to be in your life, because they're not serving you the way that they once did. So that's the end of reading number 3. I'm going to review that how it works here, because we always have people signing on in the middle that are very confused. So like other readers, I do sometimes get impressions or hear voices. I am not a spirit medium, so I'm not calling forth ghosts. I'm depending on my own spiritual practices, and then I just hear things or feel things. And so the way it works, you sign up in advance. I do a specific kind of reading that takes a snapshot of your life. And then if I did a reading for you, or you chose a number, which I'll explain in a second, and you have a question about that reading, like please draw one more card, I can do that, but I can't answer questions on the fly, so I apologize for that, but that's just not how I work. And most of the time, people who have those insistent questions, that question is not the question that they need to be thinking about right now anyway. They need to be thinking about something else, and the cards will usually reveal that. So I'm getting ready to do reading number 4. So you can choose, if you just tuned on and you did not sign up, you can choose to look for a special message in this reading, reading number 4, or you can look to reading number 5, and we're all going to say a prayer that everyone who chooses a number will still get a great message, and they'll hear something that really helps them. So I'm going to stir the cards up one more time. And client number 4, your name starts with a D. And one of the other things while I'm stirring that I didn't say as a review is that I am a non-traditional shamanist. I do things like spirit animals and things like that, but I don't do them in the live readings. Those are appointments that people would have to make for me, because it's a little bit more involved between two people, and plus you probably want privacy if I'm doing that for you. So, okay, cutting the deck one more time. All right, client number 4, whose name starts with a D, or anyone who chose the number 4 to be the number that they're going to listen to. Okay, so the theme for you is going to be connections with elders and checking that everyone is understanding each other. You will be a translator or a go-between in some way in your life, either right now or have been. Like maybe that's your job in a certain way, but it's going to be a theme, either continuing or new, but it'll be a theme for you. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle at first. You're going to need to realize that you're the go-between and that you need to help people understand each other, because these two groups of people, they come from such different worlds that they have a hard time getting on the same page, but you can be that go-between and assist it along. And in your spiritual life, loss of community. So some changes going on there for you with your spiritual community. Maybe changes in tribe. Maybe you've left one place and gone to another, or maybe you've just outgrown some of the people in your life. But it's okay, because it is time to let go of some of that. Some of those people or practices, they're not right for who you are now, even though they were once totally appropriate to you. They're not right anymore. So you are about to turn over a new leaf in your spiritual life and in your connections with other people having to do with spirituality. So it may seem kind of lonely, and you may be meant to be on a solitary path spiritually for a while. There may be things about yourself that you're not discovering because you're distracted by bringing other people into your spiritual life. But that's okay. It's all going to be okay. So, over here in what occupies the ego mind or the logical mind, academics, is dreams. So this would be visualizing things that you want to happen. Like, I feel like you have it planned all out, exactly how this dream is supposed to come true, and so you're even like getting inspired when you go to sleep. You dream something, and then you figure out how to fit it into your real life plan. So this is the dreamer, the right side up. So a lot of messages coming to you from your subconscious inspirations and things, and you're working them into your logical and academic life. So processing it all so that it works out in the logical world. In your physical world, or this can be monetary or property as well. Sometimes it's the body. I don't feel what it is, but there's going to be a surprise and you're going to like it. It's going to be a hopeful thing and a thing that you weren't expecting. So that will be nice. I feel like you're really going to be like, wasn't that a cool thing that happened? Over here in your emotional center, a new thing is born. This could be a connection to a young person, but it could also be having to do with you connecting with your younger self. I feel like it's some of each. Maybe somebody who reminds you of yourself or who has the same kind of issues you had as a child. Or maybe you're just expecting a child. Sometimes I don't get a clear feeling because it's not my business, I guess. But anyway, something new is going to happen in your emotional life, and it's going to be a pleasant thing, and it's a new thing, and it's going to be a good thing that's going to happen there. So we only have one card that's warning about a little bit of trouble in your spiritual life, so I'm going to just draw that because it's sort of I don't feel like it's a real big problem, but I just feel like you may feel lonely, so what helps with that? What's that about? So you've made some sort of sacrifice in your spiritual life, spending a lot more time with a certain person, and in doing that you're sort of neglecting your spiritual life, but you're going to reconnect with it, so you shouldn't worry about it, but you should just know that if you're really suffering and you're really miserable, then it's time to do something, to take some action, to sort of come back to yourself, especially if you're spending all your time thinking about somebody else's, like trying to control their life. Quit it. The only thing you can do is control yourself, and when you change that, then it changes how you react to other people. So 3 things that help you move forward easier. I'm going to draw one more. Okay, so there's something that's making you extremely frustrated. The whole situation has to do with bad communication. Nobody is really as offended or as nobody is malicious as you think they are. So you need to communicate with them, because poor communication is really causing problems. It's unbalancing a lot of the situation. And there are secrets that the people involved do not know about the situation because they're not talking to each other. So they're like, I don't want to, it's not like they're hiding things, but it's just like mysteries will be revealed when this is resolved. So take your frustration and turn it into something that helps the communication be cleared up. Be bold enough to sort of speak the truth gently and make a decision that before you talk to these people, that you are not going to react to their button pushing, that you're going to stand there, and even if it really pisses you off, you're not going to show them that it does. And then that calms them down, and then you can figure out these things that you guys are not knowing. Like, each person has some information, the other people aren't getting it because communication is all messed up. When you do that, it sort of clears it up, and things just kind of work themselves out. But somebody has to do something to correct the bad communication first. So I'm going to pull the cards in and stick them back in the deck here. I love it when people hit the like and love button. That makes me very happy. If you've had a reading tonight, or you chose a number tonight, and there was like, you wanted one more card, or there was a thing that it really spoke to you, but you'd like to know a little more about that particular part of that reading, you can send me a message and I can draw another card for you and like give you a little more information. I cannot do readings on the fly. One thing, I can't really read the screen. I can kind of see that people have stuff there, but I can't really read it. And it doesn't really fit into the flow of my readings either. So if you want a reading next week and you want to be on the roster, all you have to do is just message me and say, I would like to be on next week's roster, and the first 5 people who do that will get on the roster. If you didn't get on the roster today, that's okay. There's always next week, and one of the things you can do is go to some of the previous readings that I've done. Turn that video on and pick a number, and trust and say a prayer of intent that whatever number you're going to pick, that part of the reading is going to be exactly what you needed to know about, and so it will be. Okay, so client number 5, and your name starts with a W, and I feel like I'm just going to shuffle this a little bit more. Come back here. Apparently that one wants to come out. Getting real close to being done here. We're running a little bit almost late, but I think we'll be fine. Alright, so the theme for you that wanted to jump out of the deck is there's something that you need to let go of. And so this is reading number 5. Client, your name begins with a W. Or anyone who chose the number 5. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out the rest of the cards. Okay, so the theme of letting go. This is something you knew that you had to let go of. It's something you've been working towards, being ready to carry this. It was the thing that hurt when you lost it. And so now you have had this burden of grief, and you've finally grown big enough to carry this, like you've grown around that grief as a person and as a soul. And you've grown big enough now to carry that grief in a way that no longer hinders you. So you're to the conclusion of doing that, of releasing something that you needed to let go of. It could be a person, but it could be something else. I feel my initial intuitive hit is that it's a relationship. But you knew this was a process that you needed to work through, and you've been doing the work, and so you're getting very close to being finished with that work and being to a place where you feel like it no longer hinders you. Up here in your spiritual life is the theme of health. And it's almost like a sweat lodge. Strong and healthy is how your spiritual life should be. So you've been working towards that. I feel like you know this, but nevertheless, that is the card that falls there. In what occupies your logical ego mind, this is where academics and math and paperwork and all that kind of stuff that requires logic gets worked out. You have gained a good balance there. It's like you know what you're good at, you know what you're capable of, and you are finally really working out this sort of balance that has to do with the way that your logical mind works and the things that you are able to do with that in this world. So that's a good card to have there. In the physical world, having to do with body, finances, property. Some chaos going on there. And it's not chaos that feels pleasant. This is chaos that feels very unpleasant. So there'll be a little bit of feeling like things, like there's some destruction going on. However, there's not a lot you can do to really prevent that at this point. What you want to do is you want to try to steer the boat. So you can't do anything about this storm, but you can try to steer the boat so you don't end up on the rocks. And so that's what you want to do, is you just kind of want to mindfully try and steer your situation, either having to do with your physical health or your monetary health or some property. And I'm not getting a clear hit on what that's about. Not at this moment anyway. So we're going to move over to your emotional well-being. Your emotional well-being right now is focused on partnerships. This is the card of the partners. So it's a very positive card to have there. It doesn't always mean romance. Sometimes it means people that you have a deep spiritual connection with. It could be siblings, it could be parents, so it doesn't have to be romantic. It most certainly could be, but it doesn't have to be. And it's emotionally, you are beginning to realize what kind of balance and give and take that you need in order to function. And where you need to be stronger and where you need to accept certain flaws, that you need to look at your partners and look at their flaws and go, is that a flaw that I can happily live with no regrets? Can I just accept, yes, that person is like that and it sucks, but I don't care. I'm going to just take up the slack. So it's kind of a really big picture analysis of how partnerships work. And it's always a power card. It's not reversible. So emotionally, that means that you've come through this huge process of growth in order to have a power card like that right there. So I'm going to draw another card about this chaos thing going on and this letting go of stuff, and we're going to see what it has to say. So the chaos is related to a disillusionment. Something was supposed to be a certain way, and people in this situation got really attached to their ideas of how it should be. And those were just ideas. That wasn't how it really was. Those were just stories that people told themselves about how it was supposed to be. But because they were so attached to that reality when it wasn't that way, it was very painful. Having to do with chaos working itself out and taking you to better places. It's probably going to be a cycle that's a little bit less than a year before you feel like this has totally been resolved. I feel like the word like this is fallout from some chaos that started a long time ago. And then I said, what helps you to continue with this thing that you needed to release, which is the theme right now. And we have community. So your releasing of something is going to give you a new beginning with new community. Now we're going to say 3 things that help you move forward in your life more easily. So the first thing is chasing your passions. So this is the card of the Sky Dancer. The Sky Dancer represents artists, musicians, writers, and other people that are passionately talented. They're also can be very spur of the moment, very inspired, often indicates travel. They want to just dance across that sky and chase after those dreams, and they want everyone to see it. So it's the patron card of inspiration, travel, and chasing your dreams as far as having a talent with this passion. So focusing on that is good for you. Avoiding wearing yourself out. This is the card of the dreamer inverted. Not only does it indicate not getting enough rest, but it also indicates not connecting with your dream world enough. Your deep subconscious needs that time for you to work things out. And spiritual messages also try to come to you through there. And then the last card that really helps you move forward is this card of the Healing Lodge. Like, you knew that you had some healing to do. You've been working very hard at it. The Healing Lodge is right side up. And so keep doing that. Keep traveling that path of healing. Keep embracing your passions. Do take good care of your body. Do not neglect your time of rest, because it won't be good for you at all if you do that. And I feel like I want to draw one more card, and I'm not even sure where it goes. The Quest Within is the card. So this is the wise man. The wise man knows that by changing what's inside, we change everything outside. So we are one piece, one number in a holographic fractal. That is the universe. And the only way that we can change that big holographic fractal that is the universe is by changing our number in that fractal thing. So it's very much a heal the world by healing yourself. And this happens because you change, then it's reflected to your friends and family. They usually change. It's reflected for them to other people. It causes a slight change. And the more complicated, remember chaos theory, the more complicated the thing, the smaller of a change it can take to cause a cascading effect. So lots of people will be changing. I'm going to go ahead and pull the cards in. A lot of people are going through a lot of spiritual growth, and we're going to see some cascade effect happening in the next 5 years, where a lot of stuff just really is shifting. But that's okay, because the universe knows what it's doing. And if it wasn't supposed to be that way, it wouldn't be the reality of it. So, not that we don't have choices to make, because we always do. But our choices begin with us, not with other people. So, okay. So this has been Dianne from Sister Earth Creations. Thank you, everybody who showed up. If you don't understand how these readings work, please go back and rewind, and you can then get all the instructions, which are repeated a bunch of times. If you feel like you want to get into the free reading stream next week, you need to message me and sign up, because I only take 5 people a week who sign up, and we kind of connect through a message. But anyone can always choose a number previously to hearing the reading by saying a prayer that they'll choose the number that serves them best, and then listen to the reading that is numbered with that number, and you will still get a message and a benefit, because everyone who is involved in this has decided that that's how it's going to be, and we've all put our intent there, and so that's how it will be. If you felt very moved by our reading today, please write a review. If you have not liked my page, please like my page. And I did have some volunteers sign up today to let me practice healing modalities on them, to show my students who, for whatever reason, I have attracted a crowd of very, very shy students for this particular beta test. So none of them wanted to volunteer to have me show healing techniques. So thank you to those volunteers. And we will see you next week. Please do sign up. And this is Diane with Sister Earth Creations. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.